It's such a great honor and privilege to be here and also to talk about some of my personal experiences. Over the time, I think I've been on Manus Island, one of the detainees, and when I see the research today, it's kind of like it sent me back straight where I was before. And it reminds me a lot of things, actually. The two images, first image, actually, of Manus, that is like, that image actually has been, if I'm not mistaken, it's dated back to 2013. And the next image of Moria, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's a 2020. Also, I visited Moria and I volunteered there for a couple of weeks just to compare the experiences of how, in Australia, migrants and refugees were being treated, especially by the private contractor and as well as in Europe. So I want to compare the two experiences to see which one actually it's more treated people humanly and which one actually it's more kind of like close to respect the human rights of the detainees. And then it turns out to be that they are all the same. We could say, different pockets, but still you have the similar tissue in the pocket. So the end of the day is, whether it's, I have to mention the names. Whether it's G4S or Sarco, these are actually the main companies that today they are dealing with migrants. So upon my experiences, actually, when I arrived in Australia first time by boat, I remember I was being intercepted and welcomed and by the Australian Navy. Then I've been handed over to another security company, and that's the Sarco. First time in my life to be in a in completely locked down place, and it's exactly identical as prison. And I thought in my mind that actually we are going to be treated as, as a human being. And the treatment that we are going to receive is going to be like an identical of treatment that where we will receive it outside of the detention center. But I was wrong completely. I was deceived, and I felt like to a point that actually the treatment becomes even worse than prison. And the idea behind that, why the treatment is worse than prison, the idea behind is to make it as harsh as possible, to make it as worse as possible for people to lose hope. You have to actually make people losing hope so that people will go back home. That's actually the ideas for the security guards. And based on my engagement and interaction with the security guard, from Serco to Wilson security guard to G4S, I keep seeing the similar faces, but the behavior is still the same. Nothing has changed. Even though the name of companies keep changing during the period of 6 years or 6.5 years that I was in detention, the names just keep changing of the companies, but the personality are the same. The treatment is still the same. And it reminds me that actually to a point that we were not actually in a detention center, we were in prison. Because in prison, normally what you do is like you remove people's names away and you replace it by a number to extend that you say you want to protect them. And it's happened to us like on detention center, the names has been removed away and we've been given like a number. Imagine you come to the Lion having a meal, like during a lunchtime, we're queuing for like a couple of hours, even sometimes more than that. And it turns out to be that we don't get to be actually called by name. It's impossible to hear your name. So you have to actually keep hearing your number repeatedly on day-to-day basis to a point that it becomes part of your identity. And this is actually a 100% dehumanization to a point that you lose your name, you lose your identity, you end up becoming, a number. And that number actually will lead you to have another problems, which is instead of fighting for your liberty or freedom, you have to fight to gain your identity first. And no one knows how hard it is to fight for your identity and then at the same time fighting for your freedom. And you always have to prefer to fight for your identity. And this is actually what we did for quite some times. For me, actually, one of the experiences that I could say, whenever we hear the migration topic today, it's the migration topic actually, it's a topic that we're not meant to be directed at people like myself or at any other migrant, no. Or not even asylum seeker or refugee, no. It's really directed to the electorate. What I mean by that, I mean, today, if any politician wants to talk about actually a migration or migrants, the point behind it is to gain, I mean, the trust of his district, how to be re-elected again. But the point is not really communicating to me directly as a person who's really affected by this. Because when I look at myself and I ask myself, I keep hearing politicians saying a word and repeating it. It makes me feel like I don't understand what they're saying. Either I'm a fool, or either I'm illiterate, or there's something wrong. Because it's not really directed to me. And it comes to a point that I felt the governments are really trying to weaponize the migrant and then using a security guard actually in scapegoats. How? I mean, if you really know that you're implementing a very harsh policy, and this policy, you want someone actually to be actually at the front page of this policy. You want someone actually to carry this policy to the last point. And what you do, actually, you look for a private security companies. And these private security companies, first of all, we have to remind ourselves that most 99% of the people who are actually working there, they are either ex-military, army, or they are ex-police, or they're people who actually work inside the prison. In my entire time that I was in detention center, I've never actually got to a point. I always open to speak to, I spoke with all of them, but I've never actually found someone who has zero military background or zero police force, or he is not from. These are the three main actually departments that people are coming from. Number one, these people, we have, if I talk about the military, what is their mentality? Their mentality actually, it's based on when you are dealing with the migrants as if you are dealing with the hostage. You are in actually a battle zone, you capture people, and you are dealing with these people. First, you are rude. Second, you don't respect them. Third, you make them feel actually they are despicable. Why even they are there? You make them feel even they hate their life. Because you are the winner. You have a gun in your hand. And what I mean by gun, actually, you are the authority. So you say that you tell them actually when to sleep, when to wake up, what time to eat, what time to speak, what to do. These are the things. We come to the police. People with the police background, actually. Not all of them, they are actually worse, but there are some actually, the one that actually hire on Manus or on Nauru, they are the worst. So here, actually, for us as a community leader on Manus Island, we tried our best to educate them. You have to remember that dealing with the migrants or refugees, people actually, these are the people, they are very sensitive. They are a human being, and they want you to make them feel as a human, as a welcome. But if you start treating them actually very badly, people would think in their mind that, okay, first of all, I fled my country. No one even asked my story, what happened, why did I left my country? Second, I risked my life to get on the boat for like a week in order to make it. Third, I've been keeping away. They push me away somewhere else in a place like where out of sight, out of mind. And then I've been handed over to to a private companies where they treat me like even a garbage. What am I gonna think? First, I'm gonna think of myself like, I'm unwanted in this community. Second of all, what else I will have? I will have a psychological problems. And this psychological problem, actually, you need to have a professional people to deal with it, how to diffuse attention. And this is actually, we don't get to see on Manus Island at all. During my entire time, every time we come into confrontation, we have to be the first. Myself and other few people, we have to be the first to intervene, to say like, no, we have to kind of like, keep it, push the guys away from the security guard because we don't have the right to push the security guard away. So there is an especially team that actually it calls ERT, Emergency Response Team. And this is actually with the private security guard, either with the Wilson or with this G4S or with Paladin. These are the company that actually I know in my times there. Actually, this team, they always selected the people who are actually have a, big in size, tough in mentality, and ruthless in their behavior, and easy they can be triggered. These are the people actually they use in emergency response team. And the idea of emergency response team is to respond in the times when someone actually is attempting or committing a suicide. Every time we see that, no, we see the opposite way. And instead of actually try to prevent, walk the person away from his a mindset of suicidal mindset. No, we end up seeing that the person who's trying to actually attempt suicide, he get beaten up, and then he get handcuffed, and then he get excluded to a prison because you are a bad person. You are not grateful to what we are providing. So I think part of my recommendation, I have to be very frankly that I don't actually advocate for the existence of detention center. This is against my conviction. My conviction is I don't want to see the existence of detention center. But as a matter of fact that there's nothing I could do from my from my position as an advocate. But within the detention center, the current operating detention center, there are quite a few recommendations that we could make as a migrant, as someone who has an experience. First of all, part of recommendation that I would like to see the government will take this initiative to hire a people or like a private companies that have a good human rights record. Not the ones that actually with the worst human rights records, abuses. I don't even want to talk about it because it already has been presented in that research. My second recommendation, which is like most important, is there has to be an accountability mechanism there. Because during my entire time, I have not seen that the security guard has been actually inspected by the authority, by the immigration. When I see authority about immigration, by the ones who are actually the state who are responsible, who gave them the contract, they are not expecting them. They are not actually controlling them. They are not checking what is happening. 99% of the complaint that actually we wrote, it ended up going to the garbage bin. 99% of a complaint that actually we sent, only like 0.01% actually has been, actually responded to it. Why? Because the security guard, among themselves, they have a team. They divide it into 4 teams or 5 teams, and each one cover up for the other one, which means that if I complain about the behavior of one specific person, the other person has to cover him up. Why? Because if he got if he got punished, that means tomorrow someone else will get punished. So that means we have to protect our back. And how to do that is you have to cover my back and I cover your back. So any complaints come through my way, you have to throw it away. And my last recommendation will be, actually, there has to be even among the security guards some people who have a knowledge, a psychological, a psychiatrist, let me say. Overall, I can say psychiatrist. Why? Because dealing with someone actually with such, a background of a migrant, they are very delicate and sensitive. You have to speak to them in a way that how you can, give them a hope not only for tomorrow, but hope for how he can actually end his day from morning to the night time. So you have to make sure that this person will stay alive, because one of the major problems actually on the Manus that we have seen during the entire time we've been there, it's the security guard are part of the mental health deterioration. And they are part of even the suicides. Because you seek, to have a good speech with someone who there, to speak to someone who in front of you, you end up seeing that person actually giving you nothing but its own negative ideas, to tell you that actually you have to go to where you come from because you are not welcome. What do you think? So you always put yourself in a position that I'm not welcome. What's the point of having my life in front here? So I think these are really among the recommendation that I make. But again, once again, I have to say that I'm not really advocating for the existence of detention center. This is really, again, it's my conviction. Thank you.